Hi, welcome to the second week of APA Old Testament Bible Study. We are doing Genesis 3 this week. This is how sin entered the world.
You're under arrest.
I guess I'm in trouble, but it is how sin entered the world. Y'all sit down. So this time we are going to talk about original sin. You know, the first two chapters of Genesis, we talked about how the world was created, how God created the world and man. And now we're going to talk specifically about man and how the sin entered the world. So let's start off with Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. So whenever we talk about the serpent, what are we talking about? The devil. So Satan is coming into the clue here. The term serpent we pretty well take as a snake. And that very well maybe likely is the case, but there are some questions about whether is this a snake or is this something that we don't even have anymore? Is this something that's just totally different?
A serpent was a snake with legs.
Something, like I say, there's definitely some interpretation or room
Like a serpent
interpretation.
is a type of lizard.
That is this a snake? Is it not? But what Satan did here
He
was
is a
very
snake.
interesting. Is he went to the woman. Now then, first of all, who did God originally go to and talk about first? Adam or Eve? Adam.
Adam
So-
was made out of dirt.
Adam primarily was the one that God spoke with. He was around longer. And so he understood and knew more than Eve. So Satan intentionally went to the woman first. Now then, does that mean that women aren't as smart or aren't as good?
No.
No, it does not. It means that the woman had not spent as much time with God. That meant that the woman didn't understand some of the things as well, because most of what she knew was taught through Adam. Adam was first learned from God, and
Like
then
Finley
Adam
knows more
taught from
than
Eve.
me.
Well, that's because Finley's older. So this is one of the crafty things that he does. There's a lot of very crafty things that Satan does here whenever he is doing this. And the first one is he went to Eve, not because she's lesser, not because she's less important, but because she just hadn't been educated as much. That's right. So then what did he say? Indeed, God has said, you shall not eat from any of the tree of the garden. Now, is that what he said? That you can't eat from any of the tree?
Well,
No.
he said you couldn't eat from this one tree.
It was just this one tree. So why did Satan say that you can't eat from any tree?
Because he was trying to trick her.
He was trying to trick her. And the woman, Eve, went kind of, ha, 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 I know this better than you do. For the woman said, from the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat, verse 3, but the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God which said, you shall not eat or touch it, or you will die. Now then,
Well, you wouldn't die because they didn't die. They just got kicked out of the garden of Eden.
and here's the thing.
And
Well,
even whenever they got kicked out of the garden, they were
and then whenever he did, so what did he say? But first of all, what did she say? You shall not eat from it or touch it. Is that what God said? No, he just said eat it. So now this is something called legalism. Legalism, that's whenever you add more to what God tells you. God tells you not to do something and you add more to it. Be more restrictive, have more things that you're not allowed to do. So that's legalism. So here you go. We have the first situation of legalism in the Bible. God tells you to do something and you add more to it and do more than what God even wanted you to do. So first of all, he said, nope, that's not what he said. He said legalism. Now then, we were at legalism, and he said, do not eat it or touch it. So there's legalism in the Bible.
Yeah.
Or you shall die. Now, dying, we'll get to the dying in a little bit. And the serpent said to the woman, you surely shall not die. And you know, they were both right. Did Adam and Eve end up dying?
Nope.
Yes, they did. Are they still alive?
Well, they did die.
Well, they did die. They wouldn't have. So eventually they did die, but it wasn't. Remember, Satan's twisting the words around. It's not just that you're going to die. No, you're not. He's twisting the words around so that, yeah, you're going to die, but it's not going to be right away. So Satan's twisting the words.
You're saying is that if they hadn't eaten from the tree, they would have been mortals or immortal.
Pretty well.
Okay, cool.
So, but from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden. Now, verse 5. For God knows that the day you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you shall be like God, knowing good and evil. And that's true. As soon as they did it, they're going to understand good and evil, and that's going to make them more like God. But he didn't talk about it was just in this one understanding of good and evil. He said you're going to be like God and stressed that part. So Satan is definitely playing with words here. Satan is a created being. He's not really capable of lying. And you notice he does not lie here, but he twists the truth in some pretty weird ways.
Wasn't Satan God's favorite angel, and then Satan tried to be like God, and then he got
Correct.
kicked
Correct.
out? Okay, cool.
Correct. When the woman saw, use your eyeballs, don't use your eyeballs, know what's right up here. Use your eyeballs. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and the tree was desirable to make one wise, she understands sin. That's what she's going to learn. She's going to now understand what sin is. That's not exactly something that you want.
Flick that.
So, and also gave it to her husband. So, make wise, she took from the fruit and ate, and she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate it. Now the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made for them coverings.
They felt guilt.
Exactly. So what was the fruit?
Some people think it was an apple, some people think it was orange. We don't really know.
Exactly. Good job. We don't really know. Apple's kind of one of the things that is often done, and that's because of the Latin word for apple and sin are very similar. Now this is Latin. This is not Latin. This is this is English, but this was originally written in Hebrew. So Latin doesn't really make sense. Pomegranate is a traditional Jewish thing that people thought it was. Sam, please back off. It's a traditional Jewish thing that they think it is. A lot of Jews think it's a pomegranate. A fig is another one that I really like. Fig. You know why they think it may have been a fig? Because what did God use to cover them with? Fig leaves. Or what did they use? They used fig leaves. So they think that it may have been fig leaves. It makes sense, so fig, that may have been it. So we don't really know what it is, but an apple, it's a traditional, especially a traditional Western idea, but we don't really know. But I do kind of like the idea that it could have been a fig because fig leaves. But here's the way I want you to look at the fig leaves. The fig leaves were basically man's religion. Man knew he was naked, and he tried to cover it up as best he could. And he did that with fig leaves. So, and also the other thing to note here is, did they understand sin when Eve ate it? No, it was when Adam did. Because Adam knew exactly what was going on. Eve was deceived, but Adam knew full well what was going on here. So, there's where the evil really came into the world. So nakedness is, like you say, guilt. It's kind of what you said. And then they went and they hid. Because here's the one thing to remember is that, was the Garden of Eden good? Yeah, it was awesome. It was perfect. And so they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord among the trees of the garden. The important thing to remember with this is that the Garden of Eden was great. They liked the Garden of Eden. They liked the blessings of God. They just didn't like the restrictions that God placed on them. So the blessings of God, they wanted. The rest, not so much.
But God seeks man and wants honesty.
and one's honesty. And were they honest? No, they're hiding. And they're hiding amongst the trees. Then the Lord called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" And he said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked." And in verse 11, he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you?" And so here, God knew that something was going on.
And he knows everything.
Exactly. But here, like you say, he wanted, every time you hit that, it makes a noise. So then the man said, and the woman, then here's what Adam did in verse 12. The man said, "The woman you gave me gave it to me. She did it. Her fault. Is that the right way of doing something?
Same everything.
Yeah, Sam. So whenever do you get in trouble ever?
I'm totally the perfect host of the chat.
Mm-hmm. And is blaming your brother the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But do you do it sometimes?
Yeah. Totally not.
Yes, she does. And that's exactly what Adam did here. He totally turned it and blamed it on Eve. And the Lord said to the woman, "What have you done?" And what do you think Eve did?
Told the truth?
She told the truth. And this is rather impressive. Eve just fessed up, and Eve said, "I was deceived. The serpent deceived me, and I ate it." And she did. She just fessed up. She's like, "Yep, I was deceived, and I did it. It was me." So there you go. There's something I say rather impressive about Eve. She was deceived, but she admitted she was deceived and went and ate it anyway. And the Lord said to the serpent, now we get into the curse and the fall of man.
The curses.
The curses. And the Lord said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you more than all the cattle and more than every beast of the field. On the belly you shall go, and the dust you shall eat all the days of your life." And so that makes sense a lot with a snake, because the snakes crawl along the ground and eat dust as they're doing it in the process.
Wait,
And
really?
then you have you ever seen a snake in the ground?
Yeah, I found one yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be dirt around. Now then, verse 15. Verse 15 is one of the biggest verses in the whole Bible. So let's go here. Let me read this. And I will put enmity. Do you know what enmity is? Like you're an enemy, you don't like something. Enmity between you and the woman. Sam, please stop. Between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. This is called the proto-evangelion.
Is that like some kind of alien?
Not exactly. It literally means the first gospel.
Like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John?
Genesis 3:15. So what do Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John do?
They tell you about Jesus.
They tell you about Jesus. This is the first time that you tell about Jesus. So in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you had an entire book about Jesus.
Hey, good timing.
Here, you have a whole verse about Jesus and the very first time. Now, does this sound like Jesus?
Nope.
Nope. So let's kind of talk about it a little bit. I'll put enmity between you and the woman. That means they're not going to like each other.
Dun,
And
dun,
he,
dun.
And between your seed, what's seed?
A seed?
Yes, but what's the seed become?
A flower? I can
If it
tell
comes
the
from a
entire
flower.
cycle of a seed.
Because we're studying botany. It's the
it
seed is
turns
what
into
becomes
food.
that same flower, right?
Yeah.
And a human seed means they're kids. So this is fancy just saying they're kids.
So are you my child?
No, other way around, my child.
Oh, dang it.
So they're saying that there will be enemies between the woman's kids and the snake's kids
I
in
have
the
an arch
future.
nemesis. Snake's kid. My brother.
Your brother. And who are we talking about here? Are we talking about the snake or are we talking about Satan?
Satan.
So there will be an enemies between the offspring of Eve and Satan in the future. So, and you shall bruise him he shall bruise you in the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. Now then, if I take and I hit you with a stick, and on your heel, is that going to hurt?
Yeah.
Is it going to kill you?
No.
If I take that same stick and hit you as hard as I can in the head, is that going to kill you?
I mean, depending on the size of the stick, I mean, I might get a concussion.
But it's more likely to kill you.
Yeah.
So, and that's what they're talking about here, is there's going to be some incidents in the future where you're going to have one of the sons of Eve strikes Satan and kills Satan, but injures the son of Eve. Can you think of a time whenever a human that was born from man was injured, but in that injury brought an end to Satan and sin?
Jesus hanging on the cross.
Jesus hanging on the cross. And so this is that very bright, very clear, very first part of this thin red line that weaves all through here. This is a major, major portion of it. The proto-evangelion in Genesis 3:15. And he shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. Jesus was injured at the cross, but he wasn't killed. Satan's death blow came at the cross. And this one event is told right here back in Genesis 3:15. And it is known as the first telling of the gospel, also known as the proto-evangelion.
Alien!
And to the woman he said, in verse 16, moving on, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you shall bring forth children. So think about that. Having kids, it's painful. I've seen it. I've been there. But before then, it wasn't the case. Exactly. It was the doctors and then my doctor. I haven't done it in many, many years, but it's not a pleasant experience. But it was not the case until the fall. So part of the curse of man was pain and childbearing. And yet your desire shall be for your husband. This is kind of a weird verse that we don't fully understand. Your desire to be your husband. Kind of the way I've interpreted this is your desire will be to dominate over, to rule over your husband. And he shall rule over you. And so
are you supposed to rule over your husband while your husband actually rules over you?
It's kind of like I say, it's kind of one of those weird things where right here it says that the husband's going to rule over the wife, but the wife's desire will be to rule over the husband. It's part of the curse.
And it's the exact opposite.
Well,
the wife is with the husband too.
That's why it's part of the curse. It's kind of one of those weird things. It's part of the curse.
But it just said that.
It says again, your desire shall be for your husband, and your husband shall rule over you. Like I say, it's one of those that I will say it's one of those that I will go ahead and say you someday as a woman, it's more important to understand that than it will be for the guys. So guys kind of know this is here. Women, this is kind of one of those verses that's more yours. Guys, I wouldn't cross it out, but yeah, I wouldn't quote it a whole lot either. And then in verse 17, then to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife. Once again, Adam knew what was going on. He went into this fully eyes open. Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you, and in toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles shall grow for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. So before, where did Adam and Eve get food? In the garden.
Trees?
Yeah, it was just there. It was just kind of, they just grew. But now he's going to have to work. Not only is Adam going to have to work for food, they're going to have to plant and grow, but what else is going to grow with it? Thorns, thistles. And here's what's really crazy. So thorns were not there before the fall. So thorns, you ever been stuck by a thorn before?
Uh-huh.
It hurts.
I got one that went all the way through my foot.
Ow, that hurts. But here's the thing I want you to remember that. Every time you get stuck by a thorn, ever, that thorn is because of the sinful fall of man. And I want you to think about Jesus, and I want you to think about Adam and Eve. And so thorns are part of the curse of man. And you know what's even crazier? What kind of crown did Jesus have whenever he was on the cross?
Thorns.
A cross of thorns.
It took the nurses 1 hour to get the thorn out.
I can believe it. They hurt. That hurts. They numb you up any?
No.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but I didn't feel any pain.
Yeah. Well, good. But the thorns, the crown of thorns on Jesus' head was a crown of the curse of man
Starfish.
that started all the way back here in Genesis. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground. From it was where you were taken. For you are dust, and dust you shall return. So
they're going to either... So obviously you're going to die.
everybody's going to die. And this is one of those things where it was not necessarily, we don't fully know how long Adam and Eve lived. We don't know for sure how long they would have if they had not had sinned. But it was theoretically possible that they may have lived forever. But sin entered the world.
Like way back then?
Way back
They
then.
lived for centuries.
Yep.
So they probably would have been like hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Yeah, actually, most people lived 900 years or so back then, 800 to 900 years.
I want to live 900 years, please.
So verse 20, then man called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living things. Eve actually means life, and it's because from her not only children are going to be born, but Jesus is going to be the life of the world. So Jesus is going to come from Eve. And so in the Chronicles of Narnia, you know how they referred to the kids, the Pinsby kids and all that came there as Pevensey kids?
You never pronounced it properly.
They were the daughters and sons of Adam and daughters of Eve. That's why, because only the sons and daughters of Eve have the opportunity to understand the Savior that is Jesus.
You call Mr. Tumnus Mr. Tombness.
Hey, it's still a good book. So then the Lord made garments of skin for Adam and Eve, and he clothed them. So now then, we think of, okay, great, so they got a leather tunic, right? Whatever. They got a piece of leather for a loincloth, right? But I want you to think about this. They had never seen death before. Have you seen a dead animal before?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We killed a deer last year. It was Mommy killed a squirrel. We killed a deer last year, and we got the skin out there. But that's not exactly what we have. This is the first time they have ever seen death. In order to get skin, you have to kill the animal. And Adam and Eve had never seen death. They got leaves because that's all they had seen is the leaves from the trees. It doesn't hurt the trees. But here, because of their sin, sin requires death. And God, in this case, killed an animal, slaughtered it, and wrapped them up to cover their nakedness with the dead hide of this animal.
How did he go through the tanning process so quickly?
It's God. He can do that kind of thing.
And this is explained.
But think about that. They had never seen death before, and here they had sinned, and because of the sin that they had to watch as God killed an animal, tore its skin off of it, and wrapped it around them, and they had to stay wrapped up to cover up the nakedness of their sin.
Were they vegetarians? Because
absolutely. Up to that point, yes. Up to this point, absolutely. Nothing but fruit. Like I said, they'd never killed an animal. They'd never seen a dead animal before. Exactly. This was something that we just kind of go, okay, God made them skins, because this is something that we have all the time. I mean, I've got leather on my shoes. I've got leather that I tanned last year from the deer we killed. But here, this is something that would have been completely and utter shocking to Adam and Eve, because God killed an animal to cover up their sin, and then not only used that covering, but ripped the skin off this animal and physically covered them in it. Now, later on, you'll see God has man do the same thing, but here, God is doing it for Adam and Eve. As time goes on, God gives more and more control to people and more ability, but here, God's doing it all for them.
When we breathe or not.
You what?
I said we control whenever we breathe or not.
When we breathe?
Yeah. And I control my finger to do this.
So then the Lord said, behold, man has become like one of us. So who are the us that he's talking to?
Me, you, Sam, Mom, Dad,
Now, who's
honey.
God talking to? Man has become like us. Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, us, the Trinity right here. Man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, and now he might stretch out and take hold from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So there's two trees in the middle of the garden. There was the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And if they eat from the tree of life, they would keep living. So there was the one tree they couldn't eat, and the other tree that they could.
It was
And
the tree of death.
They were continuing to eat. Yes, the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Because they ate from the tree of life.
You know, that's why I will say, don't know how long that they may have been around. They may have been around for thousands of years even before this happened. We don't really know. Could be. Don't know. But because of this, God says, no, we send them out.
It's a bummer that Adam had one less rib than everybody else in the entire world.
Well, he may have. He was missing something. And the tree of life. Therefore, God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken.
Where's Adam?
Out of the garden. God himself, Adam and Eve was with Adam. But God sent Adam and Eve out of the garden himself. And he drove the man out. And on the east gate of the garden, he stationed a cherubim with a flaming sword, which turned in every direction to guard them.
Back in, and how could they just drive them out?
He forced them out, not with a car. So, what do you think? You know what a cherubim is?
A chariot?
A cherubim.
Oh, wait, what now?
So
Oh,
most
somebody that
people,
has a
it's an
cup of
angel.
coffee doesn't
There's a
matter
couple of
if
types of
out.
angels. And here we're talking about cherubim. And most people think of cherubim as a fat little baby sitting in a cloud. But that is not the way God looks at cherubim. Here you see he stationed a cherubim with a flaming sword. So this cherubim, he wasn't no fat little baby. This was somebody you didn't want to mess with. Ahsoka Tano. This was a green beret with a big sword sitting out there. So man at this point, his body is cursed. Satan has been cursed. This land has been cursed. Childbearing has been cursed. Whenever you curse,
Everything's been cursed.
everything's been cursed, all because of man, because man's in charge of the
So it's your
earth.
fault?
Adam. But yes, me.
You're a man. I'm a woman.
Yes, and you know what? We are sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. But whenever the man's been cursed, everything he controls, all the earth, all the land is all cursed underneath it. And in the end, there are basically three views on man. There is one that man is bad. So what died here with this introduction of sin? One idea is that the what died was man's any ability to do good. The way I like to think of this is there is where we are and where God is, and there is a huge chasm between the two, and there's impossible no way for us to get over it. And the only way for us to get over it is for God to pick us up and move us to the other side. That would be the Reformed, the Calvinist.
God couldn't pick us up.
You can. The Reformed Calvinist total depravity view of sin is that with this, man was totally depraved, and the separation from God was complete. And the only way for man to become saved is for God to do a supernatural thing and move them over. Then there's the Armenian, the the one part of man that is dead is his ability to get across that chasm. Yes, there's still two things, but that chasm there, he can't get across it. But God made a bridge, and man's choice is to walk across that bridge. And there are some, and I'll go ahead and give you my bias, is that sounds really nice, but it's not really backed up in the Bible. But that is one, the Armenian view is that God makes this bridge and it's man's choice to go across it. And then there's the liberal or the Pelagian view of man, and that is man is good. There is no chasm between us and God. There is no, you have to be saved. There is no difference. It's we're all good, so therefore we're all going to heaven. I definitely have a real problem with that. I can certainly argue this Armenian so-so view, but I'll tell you right now, I'm more of the Reformed Calvinist view. of the Bible, basically because of reading it mostly in Romans. So there we go. There is the fall of man and the
Wait, is it Rich
Genesis
Brad or
3.
is it Rich Brad?
Well, I won't say either one, but it is a theological stance that I generally don't take.
Come on, Finley, let's move it.
All right. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, you're under arrest now.
Because I'm one of the sons of Adam, daughter of Eve. Thank you. Bye-bye.